forces that earned the right by the French government to wear this brassiere. One of them was the 5th Marine Regiment, and the other one was the 6th Marine Regiment. Today, if you're a member of the 5th, which is part of the 1st Marine Division, you're allowed to wear the robe. You wear it on your left shoulder. If you're a member of the 6th Marines, which is part of the 2nd Division, you're allowed to also wear the robe. And once you leave the unit, you have to return the robe. But Dad was able to retain his and wear it all the time because the French government awarded it to the 2 units. The 5th Marines and the 6th Marines were part of the 4th Marine Brigade fighting in France. And their first battle was here at the Battle of Verdun. And that's what this pink ribbon is for. Pink trimmed in white and red. And the Battle of Verdun really should never have taken place. In doing a lot of research to write the little booklet I did on Dad, I think the Marines started the fight because the city of Verdun was more or less like a neutral territory. The Germans used it as a recreation center for their troops, and the American and French used it as a recreation center for their troops. And the only thing that divided the enemy was a river, a small river that ran down the middle of the town. And they used to go swimming together, do their laundry together on opposite shores. And then I think one night some Marine got trigger happy and fired a shot, and then ended up with a major battle being fought in France, and it became the Battle of Verdun. This medal was presented to Dad and other members of his unit by the town council and the mayor of Verdun. And if you go to the city of Verdun now and go into the city hall and ask to see the book of golden records, they'll be more than happy to show it to you. And you go back to 1918 and open it up, and you'll be able to find Albert J. Campbell's name listed in that book of golden memories. The top one here is his Silver Star. That's presented today even for gallantry in action above and beyond the call of duty. Dad earned that at the Battle of Belleau Wood, but he did not receive the actual medal until 20 years later at a reunion held up in Washington, D.C. of the 2nd Division. The 5th and 6th Marines were a part of the 4th Marine Brigade, which is a part of the 2nd U.S. Army. And they wore the great big Indian chief's symbol on their left shoulder. Dad received that 20 years after he earned it. In the meantime, he had also earned this next medal, which is the French Croix de Guerre, which is the French Cross of War. In doing the research for my little booklet, I happened to be in Paris when I went to a place called the Invalides, which is similar to our VA hospital. And at the Invalides, I happened to see a door, a brass plaque on the door that said Croix de Guerre, Legion of Honor. And I went in. And by golly, there was able to show me the record of my dad's award of the Croix de Guerre. So now I need to try to get a copy of the citation. And they gave me the name of a French colonel out in the city of Versailles. So I write him, and he and I trade correspondence back and forth. Not only do I find out that Dad's entitled to wear it, and he got it for the Battle of Belleau Wood, but he also has a star in it, which means that it's his 2nd citation. So he won it twice. But in looking at the records, he actually had 4 of them. Then, one here is very familiar to everybody. That's a Purple Heart. That's still being awarded today. This award goes back to the days of George Washington. That's for wounds received in action. This next medal here with the long one, that's the World War I Victory Medal. And for every star in there represents a battle. Every bar on there represents the major battles, like Belleau Wood, Mont Blanc, Meuse-Argonne, Chateau-Thierry. That's what the little bars are. I'll explain this is for Verdun. This in here is the World War I German Occupation Medal, because Dad and his unit did not come back to the States when the war ended in November of 1918. They were sent by foot across France, across Luxembourg, across Belgium, and into Germany. And I had the opportunity to go to the small German town of Rheinbrohl, Germany, right on the Rhine River, and actually walk in the house where Dad was billeted in Rheinbrohl, Germany. And the granddaughter of the owner of the house remembers those American Marines being in her house. She was just 7.5 and 8 years old. So Dad, even though the war ended in November of 1918, Dad did not come back to the States until April of 1919. And let's see. Oh, this is the Marine Corps Good Conduct Medal. And then over here is a small World War I Victory Medal. And then his marksmanship badges for the rifle. An emblem off his hat. And then this horsehair band here, you picture Smokey the Bear's hat. And the Marines wore this horsehair band around that hat. And that's what it's for. This is the German Iron Cross down here. And I think Dad got that from a dead German, because it was noted that the smaller the souvenir you could pick up, the more apt that you were able to keep it. So you didn't pick up rifles and stuff like that to carry around. So they would take off epaulets off of German uniforms. They would take medals off of German soldiers. And I think that's how they got that German Iron Cross. That's an Iron Cross first class, which means it's a first of war. And then down below is one of the buttons from his original uniform. And below that is the name tab that went across his shoulder here. And that's from the Nitro, West Virginia, where he was discharged from. And that's my dad. Now, how did I get all of these? Ed shipped them to me in a box. A little box like that. He said, I think you might do something with these that I haven't had a chance to do. I spent 8.5 years collecting all the data to back up what Dad did in World War I. It was an amazing research. And I was fortunate enough in having my daughter Karen stationed in Germany. My being military retiree, I could fly from Dover Air Force Base in Delaware to Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, where Karen teaches at little or no charge. While I was there, I was doing research. I even took my oldest daughter, Roz. Roz and Karen and I spent a whole week tracing Dad's actions in the various locations where his units was at while they were fighting the war in World War I. I even went to the Battle of Belleau Wood, and in the narrative description of the unit, it said on the edge of the wheat field, the command post was located behind a large boulder. Now, that boulder was about as big as this area right here. That boulder is still there. The French farmer is still planting wheat in that same field. But those who are familiar with modern day rifles, if you look across that field to the edge of the woods, you'd wonder how in the hell did they ever get across there to attack in the woods. But they did, and they lost a lot of men. So on one of my trips I made over there, I decided I'm going to go in the woods to see if I can find anything. Well, you can still see the old trenches, the German trenches. So I got down on my hands and knees and I started digging through the leaves and the dirt. I began to find a hand grenade. I find live ammunition, 8mm, that used to be fired in the German rifle. I found what was left of a 45 caliber pistol with it all rusted out. I found an old German helmet with all rusted out on the top. I just found a whole lot of stuff. And of course, now how am I going to get it home? That's a different story in its entirety. But anyway, I enjoyed my research, and I wish I had put more effort into it, because there was a lot of things that this man went through that we will never know about. Up here is a photograph of Mom and Dad. Dad was a young Marine. Mom was just 16 when she married Dad in August of 1917. 2 weeks later, he was aboard a troop ship headed for France. They landed not at the main ports as you and I would know it, but they landed on the south side of France at Marseille. And then they were put aboard trains and shipped up toward Paris. When the Germans started a big push toward Paris, the Marines were needed so badly at the front lines to fill up the blanks that were left by the French being overrun, that they put them in taxi cabs and drove them up to the front in taxi cabs. And then after they stopped the German advance, they were brought back behind the lines, and then they underwent some more training to put them in for the main battles. They ended up with, at the Battle of Meuse-Argonne, and they were about to cross over the river on the morning of the 10th of November when the armistice was declared. And I'm afraid had they crossed that river, I wouldn't be here, because the Germans were sitting up on the bluff, the Marines were down here below, and they had no bridges going across the river. They were going to build pontoon bridges with the Germans shooting down on them. But the war ended, and so everything became hunky-dory. But then they had a march all the way over into Germany. So anyway, that's Dad's medals. And if you have any questions after you look at them, I'll be more than happy to answer anything I can about it.
Thank you.